Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the post-match press conference of the match number 41 for the round of 16 of the FIFA Women's World Cup France 2019. So we're about to start the post-match press conference with Team Spain and the head coach, Jorge Bilda. I'll kindly please ask you to raise your hand and wait until you have the microphone and tell us in which language first you're going to speak, because we need the translation, and then present yourself and your organization. So we already have a question. We can start now.
Hola Jorge, buenas tardes. Eleonora Llovi del País.
Hi, Jorge.
Nos
Good
acaba de decir
afternoon,
Marta
Nora.
Corredera abajo que España hoy se ha ganado el respeto de todo el mundo.
Spain has won the respect
Quería
of the entire world
preguntarte
tonight.
evidentemente si estás de acuerdo
How they
y
played.
tu
I
análisis
wanted to ask
de
you
un
in
final
agreement with that, and
cruel por lo que
what's your
se ha visto
analysis of this
en
very
el campo.
cruel final?
Sí, buenas
from what we
tardes.
saw on the pitch.
Totalmente de acuerdo.
Yeah,
Lo que
good
hemos visto
afternoon.
hoy
I'm totally in
en el
agreement.
campo es para que
And
todos
on the
nosotros
pitch,
estemos muy orgullosos. Yo lo
I really
estoy,
feel
que
that
todo
we
un
should all
país
be
esté
very
muy
proud of
orgulloso,
what we did.
porque a nivel competitivo hemos igualado al mejor equipo del mundo, hemos sido capaces de anularlas, de que no sacaran todas sus grandes cualidades que tienen de velocidad, de técnica, de táctica, y eso ha sido con el trabajo de todas las jugadoras. Pienso que hemos dado un salto cualitativo en nuestra selección muy importante, que somos una selección que al final no hemos tenido el premio, pero que también sabemos crecer desde la derrota, y lo hemos demostrado, y pues que auguro muy buen futuro a todas estas jugadoras y a la selección
I'm really
española.
sure that all of the players on the team have ensured their future.
¿Qué tal? Jorge, Miguel Martín Talavera,
Hi,
Cadena SER.
Jorge,
Dentro del análisis
de
que
la
haces
vela,
y del
Cadena
orgullo
SER,
que
within that
seguro sentimos
analysis
todos
that
por
you've just
lo
made,
que el partido que ha
and
hecho España,
obviously we're
¿pesa más
all
eso o
really
pesa
feel
la
for you
indignación por
in
haber
the
ido a
match,
casa por un
the result
penalti cuando
that
llama el
Spain's
VAR
walked away with?
a la colegiada
Obviously, there was
y
this
que no parecía ningún caso?
penalty and the VAR,
Bueno, en
and
cuanto al
it
penalti,
didn't really
nosotros
seem
desde el
like it was
banquillo
warranted.
no tenemos la
Well, in
visión
terms
para
of the
determinarlo,
penalty,
pero
from
sea
where
lo
we're
que
sat
sea,
on the
vamos a
bench, we
aceptar
can't
siempre
actually determine
las
anything.
decisiones que tomen los árbitros, que
But
tome
we're not
el
going to
VAR, que
then
ellos
comment
pues lo ven ahí,
on
lo analizan.
decisions that are made by
Y bueno, pues
referees
está
and the
claro
VAR. Obviously, they see it there, they analyze
si
it.
un partido contra Estados Unidos
And
lo pierdes
it's a match
porque han
against
sido
the US,
dos
and
penaltis,
if you lose
es
it
porque
because of
España
two
ha estado muy bien,
penalties, well,
porque
then
ha dado la
it's
cara, porque ha
because
competido, porque hemos ido a por el
Spain
partido
has
hasta el final,
really been
porque
up to
hemos tenido
scratch. I
nuestras
mean, if they've
opciones
had to win
incluso
through
de ganarlo,
penalties,
y
it's
pienso
because
que
we've
hoy
really
hay que ser
just
muy
shown our
positivo
worth
porque han
and we've
pasado
given
cosas
them a
muy
run
buenas.
for their money, and we have to be really positive about our overall performance and what happened in the match.
Hola, Aurélien, RMC Sport.
Hi,
Pues el
Oriane,
próximo partido
RMC Sport.
de los Estados
Well, the
Unidos es
next
contra Francia.
match,
¿Y
the US
qué piensas
match is
de
going
los
to be
Estados
the US
Unidos y qué
against
son
France.
sus
And what do you
flaquezas
think
para encontrar a
about
Francia?
the US national team, and what do you
Bien,
think their
pues pienso
weaknesses
de los
are
Estados
against
Unidos que
France?
seguro
Well,
que
I
se acuerdan
think
de este
that in
partido
terms of
durante
the
mucho
US,
tiempo sus jugadoras.
they obviously,
Estoy convencido
their players have been
que
competing for
no han
this match
sentido
for ages. I
nunca
think that they
con un
have
rival
never
enfrente lo que han sentido contra España,
felt
y es
at
algo
all
también que me
the way
hace
they felt
enorgullecerme.
faced a rival
Ayer
the
lo
way they felt tonight
tuvo
against
difícil
Spain.
Francia para
I think
ganar
that
a Brasil,
yesterday
y bueno, que va a ser
France
un duelo
really
muy
had to work
disputado, y que
hard
son dos equipos
to win
que
against Brazil, and I think
optan
it's
al
going to be a
título,
hard-fought
y va a
match
ser pues
against two
un
teams
partido
that are
bastante
both
bueno.
worthy of walking away with the title, and it's going to be really quite a good match to
Carlos
watch.
Jiménez de Radio Nacional, me gustaría insistir
Carlos
en una jugada que ha
Jiménez,
marcado
Radio
el
Nacional.
partido.
I would
Dices
just
que no lo
like
has visto
to
desde el
ask
banquillo,
about
pero
one
has tenido
play
oportunidad de verla luego
that really
repetida
did
ese
mark
penalti
the
que para
future of
muchos
the
ha sido
match.
inexistente.
Because can you tell us
No,
about
de momento no,
that
lo
foul that
miraremos, lo
for us
analizaremos, pero eso ya es
seems
pasado, y vuelvo a repetir
inexistent?
que es una decisión
Yeah, we're going
arbitral
to obviously
que siempre vamos
analyse
a
what
aceptar y a
happened,
respetar.
and obviously the VAR's decision, the VAR's decision, is something that we're obviously going to have to respect, always.
English, Jeff Kassouf, Equalizer Soccer. Curious.
No, okay. You can continue.
From the beginning of the game, I'm curious. It looked like that you guys were targeting the U.S.'s left side. Was that by plan? And similarly, you guys looked a little bit more physical than perhaps usual. Was that also by design?
Sí, siempre que juegas contra Estados
Yes,
Unidos va a ser un
yes.
partido más físico
Every
porque vas a
time
tener
that
que
you're
defender más.
playing against the US, obviously it's going to be more physical
A
game
lo
because you're going to
mejor
have to
sí que hemos
defend
echado
that
de
bit more,
menos
right?
alguna
So
posesión
obviously
un poco
we did
más
perhaps
larga que nos
miss
pudiera haber dado un poco más
one of the
oxígeno para
longer
volver a defender con
possessions
más
on the
intensidad,
pitch that
incluso
might
como
have been
para
able to
volver a
give us
atacar
more oxygen, more of a breather to
pues,
sort
con
of
más
come back
efectividad
and
o con más
defend
velocidad.
with more
Pero al
force
final
and more energy
las
and more
estadísticas
speed.
todavía
But at the end of
no
the
las he
day,
visto, pero
the
pienso que ha
stats,
sido
I
un duelo
haven't
muy
seen them,
igualado
but I
en
think it's
cuanto
really
a
been quite
oportunidades
an
de gol
equal
también
match
igualado
in
y
terms
que
of
pues
goal
hemos
opportunities. I
conseguido
think it's
igualar a las
pretty
mejores.
level as well, and I think we've been able to play on to a level that was level with the US.
In the middle.
Hola, Jorge.
Hi, Jorge.
De la vanguardia.
Oriol
¿Qué les
Detrás
has
from
dicho a
the
las jugadoras después del
Vanguardia.
partido,
What
si
did
se
you
puede
say
saber?
to your players after the match? Can you
Pues
tell
las he
us?
felicitado por el
Well, I
trabajo.
congratulated
Llevamos
them first
50
off
días
on their really hard work.
seguidos concentrados
We've been
y
centered
pues todo
on
lo que ha
this,
sucedido
on these
aquí ha sido
matches
muy
for
bueno
50
en cuanto a
days.
equipo, en cuanto a grupo, en
50
cuanto a
days
jugadoras.
non-stop, and what's
La
happened
selección
in
ha
this
dado
match
un
has
salto
been really,
cualitativo,
really
pero
great,
también
really
cada
positive.
jugadora lo ha
And I
dado.
really think
Hoy lo
that
han
they
demostrado en el
gave
campo,
each
cada
one of
partido
them
que
a
hemos
leap
jugado
in terms of their
hemos visto que
quality,
tenemos
and
grandes
they've really
jugadoras que pueden
progressed,
estar
and we've
tranquilamente
fought,
en
and we
el
can
top 10
see that
mundial
we've got really
y
great
que
players
lo
that
mejor
can
de
really
todo
feel
es
at ease
que
in
el
the very
futuro
elite of
que viene
women's
es
football.
buenísimo, que vamos a
And
seguir
I think
creciendo,
that the
que
level
se
that they
vayan con la
have is
cabeza alta
great, and we're going to
porque
keep
es para
growing
estar
and
orgullosos todo
progressing,
el
and I think
mundo
that they
y
should
bueno,
walk
pues al
away with their
final todos nos hemos
heads
fundido en un abrazo y
held
en
very
un
high.
aplauso
I think that they're
sobre
all
todo para
really,
ellas que
really
son las que
worthy
se lo
of it,
merecen.
and I think we should all applaud them because they really are worthy
back.
of it.
In the back, please.
Sibylla, Daniel Meuren, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung de l'Allemagne, le monde en français. Quand vous étiez forcé de substituer
So a question in
Madame
French,
Lozada
when you were forced
par
to
Garcia,
substitute
c'était le moment où vous avez
Lozada
décidé de jouer
with
plus
Garcia,
offensif. C'était
that's
aussi le
when you
moment
decided
quand
to be
vous
more
avez
offensive, and it was also
persuadé d'avoir
decidedly
une chance aujourd'hui et
when
que vous
you were
avez
able to
dit, bon,
create
on
that
peut gagner
chance,
contre l'Amérique.
and you could have perhaps won against the US. Do you think you would have, that was ever in your sight, possibly winning against them?
Sí, hemos tenido que reaccionar en la primera parte ante un golpe
Yeah,
que se ha
obviously we had
llevado
to
Vicky
react
Lozada
in the
en
first
el ojo,
half,
se la ha inflamado, no podía ver,
with
estaba
the
realmente
ball
incómoda.
that Vicky Lozada
Y ha
had
salido
in her eye. It was really inflamed,
bueno,
it was
pues
really swollen,
queríamos
and it was really
reforzar el
uncomfortable.
centro del
Obviously,
campo,
she
que
couldn't
no
stay on like
hubiera
that.
dudas
We
en
had
las
to try
marcas,
and
también hemos
strengthen
cambiado el
the
dibujo
midfield,
y
and
hemos sacado
obviously
una
we
jugadora
had to
más
change the
ofensiva, un
structure a
poquito más
bit, and we
arriba
had
para
to
que
be a
no
bit more
tuvieran
offensive
tanta
and a bit
comodidad
further up,
o
so
facilidad
that we
en sacar
tried
el
to
balón sus
not
dos
let the
centrales,
US be
que
as
se encontraran un
comfortable
poquito más
or
incómodas y
as
también
able to
que
get to their
pudiéramos tener
central
un poco más de
players
profundidad.
as easily, and we
Lo
also
hemos
wanted to have
visto,
a bit more
ha
depth.
salido bien, el equipo ha
So
tenido sus
we
opciones
saw,
y bueno,
and you
pues
saw that it turned
la
out
lástima
well.
es que
Our
Vicky
team
Lozada se
did
haya
have
perdido
those
estos octavos
options.
de final por un golpe
Obviously,
fortuito en su ojo.
it's really, really sad that Vicky Lozada wasn't able to complete the knockouts game because of that really strong impact against her eye.
BBC website. Commiserations, Jorge. Are you particularly proud of the way that your players reacted to the disappointment of the VAR decision? I think particularly compared to what we saw yesterday in the England versus Cameroon match. Did you take pride in your players' acceptance of that?
Pues sí, por supuesto.
Well, yes,
Estoy
yes,
orgulloso
of
de
course I
cómo han
did. I'm
reaccionado
really proud of how
mis
they
jugadoras después de
reacted,
la decisión
my
del VAR,
players,
porque
in the
cuando
face
se
of that
revisa y al
VAR
final pues
decision,
dan
because when
y
you
te
go
meten el
back
gol
and at the end,
de la victoria,
and
nos quedaban unos
they
minutos y
concede
nos
that
hemos
goal's gonna
lanzado
go in
definitivamente al
against you,
ataque.
and it's the victory
La
goal, if you
mentalidad
like, and
fuerte que han
then,
mostrado
we
en
were
ese
able to
momento
have
también
a
es la que
strong
nos va a
enough
hacer crecer y
mental
estar pronto
state
cerca de las
and
grandes
mentality,
potencias.
which is what's going to
Es
allow
algo
us
que
to
también
grow
habíamos
and to be the
entrenado,
same
es algo
level of
que
those
habíamos
great
tenido en cuenta
powers in the
antes del
game,
Mundial que podía
and
suceder.
that was
Y
something
bueno,
that
pues
we'd
todo lo
obviously
entrenado y
thought
con
could
su
happen
talento,
in all
pues
the
al
stages
final
prior to the World
hace
Cup,
que se
and
vean las
obviously with
reacciones que
all
hemos
of
visto
the
en el último cuarto
talent
de
and
hora
with everything
en
that
nuestro equipo, que ha estado a
that we
punto de
built
darnos
up,
por lo
we've
menos el
seen
empate.
the reactions that we've seen, that our team that was really, really almost set to draw.
Aaron Bellamy, a question in English. Leading up to the tournament, what led you to go with goalkeeper Sandra Paños instead of Lola Gallardo?
Sí, Sí, durante la fase de
Yes,
clasificación fue
during
Lola Gallardo
the-
la que jugó más minutos,
in
pero
the
ellas saben
qualification
que,
stage,
pues,
it's
que
true that
tiene
Logardo
un
was
nivel muy
playing for
parejo
longer.
y que al
However, we know
final
that
pues
they've got
pequeños
really equal
detalles
levels,
y en este
and
caso
so
fue el rendimiento que dio
it was
Sandra
really
Paños
small
al
details, and
final de
it was
temporada,
los Baños
el último tercio,
completing the
incluso la
performance
segunda mitad
in the last
de temporada que al
stages,
final nos
and
decidiéramos
at the end of
por
the
Sandra, pero
season that we
también
decided to go with
felicitar
Sandra
el
for this
trabajo
match,
que ha
but we would
hecho
like to also
Lola y
congratulate
María
Lola's work
porque han
and Maria
participado y
Assun's
entrenado
work
al
as well,
100%
because
cada
they've
día
obviously
y eso es algo
participated
que
and
nos
they've
deja muy
trained
tranquilos,
and
el
they've given
tener
their
tres
all 100%
porteras
every
de
single
nivel que
day,
en cualquier
and that's
momento puede
something that
jugar
really
cualquiera de ellas
makes us
con
feel
garantías.
very comfortable, because we know that they're all like sort of parallel levels and we can use any of them really.
Lucía Santiago de la agencia F. No sé si piensas, Jorge, que con otro sorteo
Lucía
la selección
Santiago,
española
agencia
en
F,
este mundial habría
do you
llegado más
think
lejos?
that if you'd been drawn to play against other teams, you might have been able to go further in this
podríamos
World
haber
Cup?
tenido más opciones. Está
Well,
claro.
yeah, we might have had more
Si hubiera
chances
sido
to.
otro equipo el que
I mean, that's
está
pretty
delante
clear.
hoy, pues nunca se sabe,
So we
pero
can see that
con
the team
la
that we have
selección
in front of us
compitiendo
now,
a este nivel,
the national
pues
team
es
competing at this
difícil que
level.
cualquier equipo
I
la
mean,
supere.
it's
Tiene
really,
que ser
really
Estados
hard
Unidos
to
y
be
con
able
dos
to
penaltis. Entonces, bueno,
beat our
pues
team. It has to be
esperamos
US,
tener
and they have to do
más
it
suerte en los
through two
sorteos
penalties.
en un futuro,
So I think
pero
that
la
we could
suerte
be
nosotros
luckier
siempre
in the
nos la
draws
tenemos
in the future.
que ganar
But,
trabajando y eso lo tenemos muy claro.
basically, luck, you can only really win your luck
From
by
now,
playing at
we'll
your
go
best, and that's
with
what we're
the
going to
three
do.
last question, please.
Ahora, hay mucha inversión en el
Hi,
juego
there's
femenino
been
en
a lot
España
of
hoy en día.
investment, has
¿Crees
there?
que
In,
esas jugadoras
there's been a lot of investment in Spain
inspiraron
in the
los
women's
clubs
game,
a
as I understand. And do you think that
más
that
dinero,
investment
más
has
instalaciones?
inspired clubs
Y
to put more
¿has
money into the
beneficiado
women's
de
game
esta
and to
inversión
build more
por sus
facilities? And
jugadores?
have you been able to
Sí, la Real
be
Federación
inspired by
Española
that
de
investment
Fútbol
for your
ahora mismo
players?
tiene un
Yes,
nuevo
it's true,
proyecto
the
con una
Royal
inversión
Spanish
que no te sabría
Football
decir en cuánto se ha
Federation, Real
multiplicado
Federación,
lo que se
has
va
an
a dar para la
investment,
primera
I don't
división,
know
la segunda
exact
división, la
figures, but they
tercera
have
división.
tripled what they're going to
Y
give
esto
to
pues
first,
es
second,
algo
and third division
que ya
for
se está
women's
notando
game.
y que en un
And
futuro
this
muy
is obviously
próximo
something that we're already
se va a
seeing the
notar.
benefits of,
Creo
and
que
that
este
in the very
mundial
near future
también
we're
nos
going
ha
to see
servido
even more.
para
I think
dar
that in
un
this World
impulso
Cup
en
it's
cuanto
also
a la
helped us as
cantidad,
well,
al
and
número de
that it's been able
licencias
to give us
después
that
de este
boost.
mundial. Seguro que hay muchas
so
niñas
there's going to
pequeñas
be
que se animan a jugar a
more
fútbol,
little
incluso
girls,
no
I'm
tan
sure,
pequeñas,
on the back
y
of
es
this
uno
World
también de los
Cup,
proyectos
and even not so little
de nuestra
girls that are going to be
federación,
wanting to play
el crecer en
football, and
número
that
para
really
luego
is
crecer en calidad. Así
inspired
que esto
by
es
our federation
una
to grow
rueda que cada
numbers
vez
and
es más
then
grande,
from
que
there
ya
on
no se
grow in
puede parar
quality. So
y
it's a network
que
that's ever
pues
growing
la
and that
gente
cannot
ha
be
visto
stopped
el
now in its
potencial que
tracks. And
tiene
I think
España
that people
y
have
ya se
really
están
seen the
preparando
potential that Spain
porque
has
saben
and that they're
que va a
preparing
ser un
because they
equipo
know
y una
that it's
selección
going to
de
be
primero
a
una
team and a
liga y una
national
selección
team
en el futuro
and a
pues de
league
las más
in the
potentes.
future that's going to be amongst the strongest in the world.
Do we have any other questions? If not, thank you everyone. We're ending the press conference and thank you, coach, for coming.
Gracias.
Welcome to our post-match press conference of match number 41, Team USA. We have with us this evening head coach Jill Hallis and player number 15, Megan Rapinoe, who is also been selected our player of the match presented by Visa and chosen by the fans of FIFA.com. As you know, we have interpretation services available for this press conference through the application that you could have downloaded in your mobile phones. The languages available are English, French, and Spanish. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get the microphones to you. Please identify first the language you'll be using, then yourselves and the name of your organization. We'll now start. We have a question here in the middle first. Before we continue, let's have a few questions first for Megan, because then we'll release her in a few minutes. So a few questions for Megan first, and then we'll continue with Jill.
Jill, I was going to ask you this, but Megan, I guess I'll ask you. Given the way the game, you spoke about it a bit downstairs, the referee was letting an awful lot go. How maybe pleasantly surprised were you that she made the penalty call in the end? And what does it say as a follow to that about this team that you can win a game when maybe things weren't clicking the way you would want to necessarily offensively?
I mean, I think we showed just a lot of grit and experience, to be honest, in this game. Obviously, as we get into these knockout rounds, it's more stressful. There's more pressure. The games are more intense. Every team lifts the level, of course. So I think for us, it was just important to stay in it as much as we could. Obviously, they were a little heavy in the challenge. She let everything go, basically, except my whisper of the yellow card. But I didn't think it was anything too crazy. But I think just for us to stay in it, keep grinding, keep together, keep compact. We could, obviously, knowing that they're quite good on the ball and just keeping ourselves together and taking the chances that presented themselves.
Question at the back, row before last.
Meng, in my opinion, you are the most European player in the American team by your style. So perhaps you can tell me now it's the European challenge to challenge the World Cup title holder. Now it's France. What is this feeling to play against Europe in Europe and all the teams are hunting you?
What do you mean by European player? I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to be in Europe and playing. I think this is the game that everyone had circled. I think it's going to be a great match. I was saying in the mix zone, I hope it's wild and crazy. I hope the fans are crazy and there's tons of media around it. And it's just a big spectacle. I think this is incredible for the women's game. You have two heavy hitters meeting in the final knockout round. I think this is everything you want from these two sides.
Question at the back, last row.
Bonjour, Dominique Sérac, Le Parisien. C'est une question en français.
I'll ask my question in French.
Oui. Je voulais savoir qu'est-ce qui, selon vous, peut faire la différence entre la France et les États-Unis vendredi dans un quart de finale au Parc des Princes. Sur quels détails, sur quoi ça peut se jouer? Merci.
So, what are the details you're focused on?
The difference that can be made. I mean, I think for us, we need to stay very organized. Obviously, the French team, really good on the ball, good moving it. They have attacking talent going all over the place, really smart players, smart runs up top and through the midfield. So for us, staying compact, staying organized. But offensively, I think we need to get after them. I think that we need to not just sit back and let them play, but really get after them. I think that our press can hurt them a little bit, and us on the transition really start bringing the game to them, especially in the beginning, and then see how the game settles in from there.
There's one question here.
Question in English, Jonathan Tannenwald of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Megan, take us through the minute or 2 minutes or however many minutes it was between when Rose went down, the VAR call happened, you put the ball down, they tried to move it, you had to move it again, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it pretty much just happened like that. You ran it down. I mean, we've practiced these a lot, and I think for us getting that routine and just going through that quite often and figuring out what that is has been extremely helpful. Obviously, you can never replicate, having a knockout round game on the line with it. But I think just try to stay calm. To be honest, I had given it to Alex in the beginning. I thought I took the first one and maybe just switch it up. And then they were like, you're first in line for a reason, so just get back up there and take it. So I didn't really feel a lot of pressure to begin with because I only had a short wait. I just had to go from the sideline and take it. I guess the ball was one blade of grass off of the dot, so just moved it back 2 blades of grass. But just tried to stay calm, and once I was up there, I don't think it took too long, and just put it out of the range of the goalkeeper.
Last question for Megan here in the front. Microphone, please. Here in the front.
Megan, in a counterintuitive way, is this the kind of a game that Alyssa needed to have, or it was good for her to have, to know that she could make an early mistake and then there was time to recover and come out victorious?
I mean, of course, we never want any mistakes, but they're going to happen, and it's okay. Obviously, if it does happen, I think the way that the team responded was great. And as a team, we have to have everyone's back like that. There's going to be times us up top miss something easy or give away or whatever. It's just part of the game. I think for her, to just obviously understand what she did wrong, what she should have done better there, but also to leave it with this game. And, the most important thing, team rallied around, had a good performance, and we're on to Paris for the next round. So that's most important for her, I think, to just be able to box it up and move on from this. It wasn't a game-changing result.
Thank you very much, Megan. We'll now proceed with Jill. We have a first question here in the middle.
Hi, Jill. Martin Rogers, Fox Sports. Congratulations. You have a squad full of battle-tested players, but you also have a handful of players like Rapinoe who've been involved in some of the most iconic moments in programme history. Given the scope of what the challenges that awaits you next, how important will that experience be over the next game and moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be critical. I think when you've been, there's probably most of our veteran players on this team have been in the pressure cooker in huge moments. And, I think the psychological dimension of not just those players, but that spills over to the team, and it's part of what we embody. Tonight I thought it was a lot of grit, a lot of resolve. I think that mental piece, you can have all the tactics in the world, but that essence of self-belief, that's critical. And these players have that. And so I think, players like Pino and these guys that have been around for a bit longer have lived in those moments. And, I think it's fair to say they actually want those moments. They embrace those moments because, I think when the game's on the line and it's, you want to feel that this is a changing moment that you're in. And I think that's part of what they're really good at in terms of embracing that moment.
Next question here in the front. The lady.
Nancy Armour with USA Today. Jill, what did you think about the contact with Rose? Did you think it deserved a penalty? And then overall, what did you think of the physicality from Spain?
Yeah, I did. I haven't seen it on the broadcast view because we get a technical feed on the bench, so it was I couldn't really see the closeness. But we have people up top that told us, it was a contact and it was penalty. But I haven't personally seen it. Spain came out and wanted to physically, they've got some taller players and they wanted to sort of mix it up. And, I think at times our movement could have been a little better to sort of deal with that or elude that at times. But then you also, you want to make sure that you have a person in the middle that can control the game and take care of those situations as well. So I think that, I think it's part of this level in terms of the intensity and the physicality of the matches. And I think actually it will get us ready for the next match.
Second row.
In English, Jonathan Tannenwald from the Philadelphia Inquirer. What was the substitution strategy? Both waiting so long and also bringing Lindsay in late when she had the yellow card, and Spain might try to bait her into one and knock her out of the next game.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just live cautiously. I think when you're in a knockout game, I think you have to coach in the moment and make those decisions. So I think it felt that we started to gain momentum. And I think as a coach, you have to read that moment because a player can look absolutely fatigued and then suddenly things change and they get their legs again. And I think as a coach, you have to kind of, know your players and be able to read those moments. So I think that was part of the decision to sort of persist with the players we had, because I think there was momentum, and I think some of them actually grew into the second half. Yes, and it's 3 days less. It's hot. It's it was physically demanding out there in terms of just the atmosphere of what we were in. But I think some of the players actually kind of got their second win, so to speak. So that's probably why we waited a little bit in terms of the substitutions. Alex, we took her out. Carly, gives us the same aerial presence, fantastic aerial presence. Work great and in there. And then the last one, you look at that for time, and then you always think, hey, if it's if they were to tie it up, you always have to think, if that happens, what do you want it to look like? And those are all the plannings that you go through before the game.
Question there on the right.
English, Jeff Kasufi, Glass Soccer. Building off of that a little bit, the decision to start Sam, and in particular in place of Lindsay, was that with an eye toward France for Lindsay? Does the yellow card factor into that decision, or was it simply Sam?
Yeah, we went with Sam. I mean, I think if you have depth. I mean, this is, I think, again, I think people get hung up on starters in 11, and that number kind of rings through in a lot of media's head. But I think when I look at this as a coach, I look at, 14, 15 starters, and that's the beauty of having such a deep roster. And, I think Lindsay had started every game, and it wasn't, it was just a decision on what we needed and what we felt we needed. But, Lindsay's very much a starter. Like I said, I think we have multiple options in that regard. But I mean, for sure, going in the game, we said, hey, just be smart about, not picking up anything, a crazy, silly yellow. I mean, yellows are yellows, and you have to live with them and deal with them, but you can obviously not get one for standing on the ball or something silly.
Next question here in the front.
In English, Steve Goff of the Washington Post. How did you think Alyssa handled the Spain goal, and then the pressure they applied at various times during the match?
Yeah, I thought brilliantly. I mean, that's a tough moment, and I credit both her and Becky and the whole team. And kind of like Pino said, I think those moments, they can absolutely destroy a team or unravel a team. And I actually think that the mental capacity and strength of this team. They kind of parked it, moved on, and that's what you have to do in those moments. Because, again, you guys think of a 90-minute game, we think of like 97 minutes, 120. That's kind of how we approach games. It's not just, so there's a lot of time in there. And, and I felt like our performance, I think, I felt that we were going to win this game with some of the things that, we were doing in terms of ball movement and possession and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think she handled it really well. You go in the locker room and, their heads are up and they're looking right at you and they're ready to move on, because when you become that they are elite athletes, and you have to have that strength at this level.
Question here.
Yeah, hi, another question in English. Terry Daly from Agence France Presse. I just wanted to know how ready you think this team is to face France, because we did see some sloppy errors out there today, particularly at the back with the early equaliser.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I guess I would look at all the round of 16 games and say those are going to be those moments, because it's the pressure's up and the level's up. And, I respectfully say that there's not flawless soccer to be found in this world. So that's part of the game. I think it was, we knew we could be a little sharper in the final pass and in terms of that. But I think Spain is a very good team. And if you guys look back in all the games that they've played this year, like I have, they've dominated most of their opponents. In fact, all of their opponents. So, for me, it was a really tricky game. This was a tricky game, probably the hardest game in the 16 round. For me, I think it was good. I think it actually has energized our players. Again, it's all kind of how you look at things. If the glass is half empty, then maybe you look at it differently. But I'm half full, and I'm like, holy shit, that was awesome, and let's move on. Because I think it's our players are in a really good place, and for sure, this is the game. You want this game, so it's going to be exciting.
We'll have 3 more questions. First question here.
In English, Kevin Baxter, LA Times. Jill, thanks for coming in.
I'm getting my IV fluids ready right after this one, because I'm like, you guys are
to the stove here.
A sauna.
It's hotter here than I think on the field. With all the things that you went through, the heat on the field, the bad first goal, the physical challenges, a lot of things were going against you. Was this an important game for you to have going forward now, knowing that you can overcome those things, that everything's not going to be perfect and you can still win?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yes, in the sum of it, yes, because I think, we also have a lot of, as much as experience we have some debutantes on the roster, and these are these moments, and I think it was great that, some of these players that have never played in a World Cup experience a tight game, experience a game you got to grind at times, experience a game you got to shut down, you got to, you give up a goal, you fight back. Like, all of that is part of what you need to be ready for the next opponent. So yeah, in terms of what this game gave us and the takeaways from it, massive.
Next question here, in the front. Yep.
Hi, English, Ron Blum, Associated Press. Was it especially important for Alyssa at some point to have a game like this to grow and get to the next stage, knowing you can make a mistake, that she has it within her to recover from it, put that aside, and then especially getting beat up like that the whole second half and standing tough?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of what lens you look through it, because that's one moment of a 97-minute game. And I thought that some of the balls she came for was big and brave. And so, you look at one moment. So does she need to go through that? I mean, she's had a lot of games under her belt. So, I think a little bit like Pino said, I think it's, do we say the same thing to a forward when they miss a penalty kick or they miss it's part of the game. And so I think, yeah, you want to be clean, you want to be sharp, you want to be error-free. But I think that, again, it's not dwelling in that moment. It's looking at all the other positives that there were. I think as a coach, you got to be an optimist. I mean, you spend a lot of time breaking stuff down and looking at a lot of, critiquing and trying to look at how you make something better. But I think in general, what I know about these players is they are going out there and they're giving it their all, and they're giving it their very best. And I certainly appreciate that. So I think, Alyssa today, I thought, was solid. One mental thing, and, she's lived through it and she's moved on.
Last question there.
English, Grant Wall, Sports Illustrated. Megan was particularly exuberant, Jill, about the spectacle aspect of this USA-France game coming up. I think these were her words, quote, I hope it's just a total shit show circus. Putting aside your preparations and all of that stuff for the game, from an excitement perspective, what do you feel ahead of that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's, well, maybe not as colorful as that, but, Pino's quite the bohemian, so I like, fair play. Yeah, I mean, it's, how do I say this? Like, so many times when we play in big games, it's actually where I get more excited. So when we have our pregame meetings, it's more because it means more, it matters more, there's more at stake, and that's why you do this. So I think to have... You don't go into one, professional sports, or two, coaching, if you're not in it for those purposes and those reasons. So to me, it's going to be an amazing game. It's going to be probably crazy and a lot into it, and obviously intensity, but as it should be, because this is, I truly think this is the world game for women. And so what a showcase piece. I'm sure a lot of people would want it later in the tournament, but it is what it is. So I think, again, I think probably myself and Corinne are both like, what, we've got good players, good teams, good setup, and let's go for it.
Thank you so much, everyone. We now conclude the press conference.